And here we are back in the saddle, or more specifically, back in the nest, the Cardinals' nest, here on HBC TV 25. This is the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic teams. Dean Beckman, along with Donnie Netto, back for another season. Donnie, the summer went fast, the fall sports already underway, and here we are back on Channel 25.
Yeah, and it's been a number of years since we've been doing this show, and each year we certainly get to talk to a lot of great people and a lot of great athletes and coaches, and I'm looking forward to another great year. And like you said, it's amazing how fast the summer did fly by, and athletes are back, and fall sports are in full swing. So it's time to rock and roll.
Well, and some things never change, because last year on the Cardinals' nest, Nikki Fennern, the athletic director, was our first guest, and we felt it appropriate to have her back on as this year's first guest. And Donnie, the one thing, another thing that hasn't changed with Cardinals athletics, and that would be we don't have any new head coaches, at least for the fall sports.
Right. Everybody's back for another year, and it's always nice to kind of get into a routine with some of the coaches, and looking forward to some big things from some of these teams. Several of our fall sports have really gotten off to solid starts to the season. It's only been a couple of weeks, but we're kind of rocking and rolling now, and I think that people are going to be a little surprised by some of the teams. I think that we're really going to turn a few heads, so to speak, as the season continues to unfold.
And one of those teams that it's not a surprise at all, because last year the Cardinals volleyball team went 20-10, but they're off to one of their best starts ever. The Sugarloaf Classic, a St. Mary's University hosted tournament, took place this past weekend, and the Cardinals go 4-0, and they swept every single set.
Yeah, it was a very impressive performance, and unlike the other sports we're going to talk about, we actually got to watch all four of these matches because they were up at St. Mary's. But yeah, like you said, they won 4 straight matches, all of them by 3-0 counts, and that really is a pretty impressive thing when you think about it. It's been a long time since I could tell you that we have done something like that. I do know that 08's the last time we started the season 4-0, so it's been 8 years since that's happened, and I think the really key to that 4-0 start this year at the Sugarloaf Classes was Mike got to play a lot of players. Coach Lester played. I think he said he played 17 players on the first day, and he played 16 or 15 on the second day. So he's getting a lot of people in. And as we were talking off camera, there's a lot of new faces this year. So they're going to need some time to gel, and hopefully this is an indication of of the talent that Coach Lester brought in, because they lost a lot of talent to graduation, and it looks like Mike just reloaded again this year.
Yeah, some of those players they lost: Lex Krogstad, Alex Peterson, Jenna Sullivan, Mackie Fadness. Those have become household names here on the Cardinals' nest, and so for all 4 of them to be gone, you're right, there's a lot to replace, but I think Coach Lester is pretty optimistic with who he has coming off the bench and replacing some of those starters.
No question, and when we talk about replacing those type of individuals, we're not necessarily replacing them with freshmen, because Mike did have a number of players that maybe didn't see as much court time as they would have hoped last year, but are really getting thrown into some different roles this year. And I just look at a Maddie Hess and a Morgan Thomas. Those 2 seniors right there have really already started to fill some great roles. And you've got Brandy Blattner. We talked a lot about her during the basketball season. She is a phenomenal athlete. Watching her this last weekend kind of take over that outside hitter role, 47 kills in 4 matches, just a phenomenal showing by her. And so it's not necessarily filling in with different players. It's just that some of the players that maybe had more roles as kind of a backup last year are really kind of stepping into the foreground this year, and I think that's really nice for Coach Lester, because it allows the freshmen to kind of learn as they go rather than being thrust right into the college scene.
Right. Sarah Lind is another returner who they're expecting some big things from, and some other players who stepped up. Bailey Jones and Brittany Hansen, Morgan Thomas are names we heard a year ago. So again, just a lot of athletes and a lot of depth on this volleyball squad.
No question. I found it interesting when we were talking off camera. We were talking about all the losses, and you had said, "Well, Mike will find a way to get it done," and really he does. I mean, you've got to give Coach Lester and his assistant coaches a lot of credit, because they do get it done. And every year a coach has to deal with graduation, and every year Coach Lester seems to find a way to get a team put together that's going to make a run in the MAC playoffs, and they did it last year, and I certainly expect come out end of October, we're going to be talking about playoffs again because this is a very talented team.
Yeah, I think one of the underrated players on that volleyball team doesn't get a lot of press, a lot of coverage, but usually gets the job done is Molly Urban. She's one of the middle hitters, right? And she's in on a lot of activities, and she'll probably see more playing time.
Absolutely. All conference last year, had a great junior year, kind of a breakout year for her last year. And I know that Coach Lester is going to certainly rely on her. The tenacity that she brings to the court is just, it's infectious. And I think that that's something that they'll certainly need. And there's just a ton of talent on this team. And you mentioned some of the freshmen that have really kind of stepped up a little bit. Lillian Braun did a great job as a setter, and Bailey Jones you did mention, and anybody that's reading anything that I write, I've got to clarify this. Bailey Jones is spelled Joens. It is Jones. That's right. It's not a typo.
As I look at the volleyball schedule too, Donnie, they have a tough start to the year because they are on the road a lot. They have a home game September 7th and then not one until September 21st, but they close the year with 4 home games. So in the process, in the meantime, there's a lot of road games that they're going to have to win.
Yeah, and it's kind of a quirky part of the MIC schedule because it just rotates every other year, and that the home portion of their schedule is at the end of the year, and then the next year the home portion will be at the beginning of the year. I think part of it is, and you just look at these first 2 weeks of the season, they'll have played 9 matches after basically 7 days of competition, and so that's almost a quarter of their season. So these, unlike a lot of sports, these non-conference tournaments are very, very important. Not only does it give them a lot of playing time, but they also are playing a lot of teams that are in their region. Mike does a great job of setting up the tournament so that he's playing regionally ranked teams. So when it comes to getting regionally ranked or making it into the NCAA tournament, they've got a good, solid strength of schedule going in their favor. And so these non-conference tournaments are very important. And of course, it certainly sets them up as they get ready for the conference season, because as we talk about all the time, the MIC is just so tough, and this year in volleyball is no different.
Well, Ward Barrett and the cross-country teams, women and men for St. Mary's, they got to start with the Alumni Open at St. Mary's. And Donnie, this is one of those meets where the alumni come back and participate, but it also is an actual meet. It's not a scrimmage or anything like that. So tell us about the Alumni Open and how the cross-country runners looked.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun meet because the alums do get back and they do get to form a team of their own and compete, but it still is for real, and Coach Barrett really relies on this tournament just to kind of see where his athletes are. As he always says, it's one of those sports that when they come back from the summer, he knows who's been putting in the miles and who hasn't, and they have certainly done a good job this summer in the off season of making sure that they're prepared coming into this year. You look at the men's side, Austin O'Hara and Jovan Newsom finished 1-2 in the Alumni Open, which was great to see. Second year in a row that Austin has nudged out his teammate for first place in this event. So those two are certainly off to a great start. And then Alyssa Thiel and Danielle Frank were the top finishers for the women. And it's one of those meets where it's probably the toughest course that they're going to run all season because of it's run on the trails and a very difficult setting. So time-wise, maybe Coach Barrett isn't necessarily looking at the numbers that they put up, but I know that just from a fitness standpoint, he was very happy with what he saw.
And on the women's side, this year's team has another Bolig as well. We've had Tara Bolig, we've had Ashley Bolig, and now their younger sister is here as well.
Yeah, it's crazy with Coach Barrett. And then you look at on the men's side, we have another Borash. We had, so we've got a third Borash as well. And so I know we were doing mugshots with the cross-country team, and I saw him, and he was getting his picture taken, and right away I just said, "You're a Borash," because he looks just like his brothers. And, it's kind of neat that Coach Barrett has kind of tapped into some families that are not only love St. Mary's, but are talented athletes. And so it is kind of neat to see that family affair continue on year after year.
Yeah, Ben Borash and Maddie Bolig are the two new ones. So again, the cross-country team off to a good start. And the men's golf began their season with a dual win over McAllister, Donnie. So the golf team's back at it with Coach Greg Moore.
Yep, great start with a dual meet win over McAllister in the McMurray duel. Hunter Rao had the top round for the Cardinals with a 2 over 74. And then the Cardinals went to Augsburg this weekend, played in the Augsburg Invitational, and weren't quite able to match the consistency of the low rounds. I mean, they had 6 rounds in the 70s against McAllister, and then they only had 3 in the entire Augsburg Invitational. Blair Sanders certainly gets the shutout for the men's golf. He went 77-78 for a 155 total. That included a second-day hole-in-one. So congratulations to Blair on that hole-in-one out at Majestic Oaks. And I know that Coach Moore was a little disappointed in the weekend's scores, but he's got some great depth. And he's got guys that have proven that they can score low numbers. Now it's just a matter of making sure that they do it, especially on a big stage.
And this weekend, they're at the Tim Kopka Memorial Tournament, which is hosted by Carthage College.
Yeah, West Dundee, Illinois, so another big weekend for them. And it kind of is every weekend now they're in a tournament and getting ready for early October when they've got the MIC championships.
Caitlin Kling, the top female golfer, as the women's team participated in the St. Benedict Invitational.
Yeah, hole-in-one is great for Blair. We give him his props, but you certainly have to give Caitlin Kling her props. A 5 over 77 in the first round at the St. Ben's Invitational, and that was her career round by 4 shots, and really the lowest round that a St. Mary's woman has shot since 2008 when Andrea Hankey had a 74. So a great start for her. She came back and finished with an 88 the second day to lead the Cardinals. And yes, it was 11 shots higher, but Caitlin's kind of an 85, 84 type of a scorer. So really, she's right where she needs to be. I'd love to see her get a couple more of those 77s, though. That was really fun, and I know Coach Moore was extremely happy with that performance. He called me right away afterwards and was really excited that Caitlin was able to put together, by far her best collegiate and best career score, that she's ever shot. So great job by her.
And finally, in this segment, Donnie, women's and men's soccer, the women's team, a big win over North Park where they erupt for 7 goals.
Yeah, it was important for them to bounce back. A tough 2-1 loss to Luther in their season opener, come back with a 7-2 win. And the ironic part of that 7-2 win, they were actually down 2-0 in the game's first 20 minutes. Scored 7 straight goals to win 7-2. Emma Schaefer had a couple of goals. Maddie Wallerf had a couple of goals. So some veterans are kind of leading the offense, but also some other individuals are kind of stepping up as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this women's soccer team kind of unfolds from here on out. A big game against Benedictine on Friday. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that game. Mike Boland, a former men's soccer player here at St. Mary's, is the women's coach at Benedictine. So it'll be kind of a nice thing to see one of our alums coaching on the sidelines against us. So a big game on Friday for them at 4 o'clock, and then of course the M Club ceremony that night. So a big Friday night for us.
Well, and of course Benedictine, they're a good soccer team. I was talking to some of our players, and they're really looking forward just to the competition that match will offer. But also, I think some of the players really felt like they actually played better in that 2-1 loss to Luther than in the 7-2 win over North Park.
Question. And it's one of those things, we talk about it a lot in that, I'm not knocking Bethany, or I'm not knocking them at all, but Luther was a better opponent for us. You kind of play up to your opponent or you play down to your opponent, and I think that especially early on against, on Saturday, they did play a little bit down to their opponent and then kind of turned up the heat and got back to playing soccer the way they're capable of playing. And I know Coach Cassidy is extremely excited about the team that he's put together, and hopefully they can keep it rolling on Friday.
Pete Watkins, the head coach for the men's soccer team again, Donnie, and they're off to a 1-1 start.
Yeah, they had a good start. They got off. They won their opener 2-0, and then traveled to North Park and suffered a tough 3-1 loss in a game that really, talking to Coach Watkins, was a lot closer than that. We miss a PK that would have made it 2-2. Instead, they come down and they score a goal to make it 3-1. And so Coach Watkins is happy with the way they're playing right now. They've got some things they need to clean up. Obviously, it's early in the season, so that's certainly going to happen. It's going to be nice. I know they're excited about the Wednesday game here at Bethany Lutheran because it's finally a home game. Because after that, then they hit the road again for 3 more road games. So it's nice for them to get a home game and kind of get some home cooking before another long road trip. Starting on Saturday and Sunday in Wisconsin.
And of course, all those teams that we just talked about will have coaches, athletes in from those teams as the season progresses here on the Cardinals Nest. But coming up next, we'll invite in our athletic director, Nikki Fennern, coming up next here on HBC.
Get an edge over your competitors with HBC's Edge Small Business Package. Robust internet service with speeds up to 1 gigabit, 24/7 technical support, web hosting, co-location, and more from the area's leading provider in data services. Experience reliable, feature-rich phone service with unlimited local and domestic long-distance calling, caller ID, voicemail to go, and more. Plus, gain peace of mind with a 2-year price lock guarantee. Packages start at $76.20 per month. Call 888-474-9995 to experience the HBC difference today.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, our Sports Information Director at St. Mary's, joined by Nikki Fennern, our Athletic Director. And Nikki, you were the first guest last year on the show. You'll be our first guest this year as well, so thank you for coming in. And we want to be talking about the M Club weekend, which is this weekend, so very, very busy weekend for St. Mary's and alumni and also our current student athletes. We'll talk about sort of the overall state of St. Mary's athletics. But first, we get to talk about you a little bit. And congratulations are in order as you were named the Division III Administrator of the Year by NACWA, which stands for the National Association of Collegiate Women Athletics Administrators. So congratulations, and tell us about that award. You're very involved with that organization, and certainly wonderful recognition.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and it is very nice to be recognized. A big thank you goes out to one of my peers at Augsburg College who nominated me for the award, and I'm very appreciative of that. And then to be honored by your peers is very special, and I'm just very honored. And I think the comment I made to my coaches when we talked about it for just very briefly, I just said, thanks for making me look good. And when you surround yourself with good people, good student athletes, those successful things come. And so I'm very thankful for that. NACWA is a great organization. It has done great things for women in intercollegiate athletics, and I'm happy to be part of that organization. It does a lot to advance all of intercollegiate athletics, and I'm just very thankful for the organization.
And can you talk a little bit about, because it's not done now that we mentioned it, you're still not done because you do go to St. Louis for the awards ceremony. Talk a little bit about that weekend.
Sure. Well, the announcement came out in July, and so that's when the press release came out, but it gets extended just a little bit because in October in Kansas City, in association with the National Rally for NACWA, there'll be a luncheon on the last day. That will be the awards luncheon, and so the Division I, II, and III Administrators of the Year, NAI, and others will be recognized. We'll have our friends and family be able to be there and be part of that special event. And then, so again, peers from throughout the country who are there for the national rally. Evidently, I'm speaking. I don't know exactly what I'll be speaking on yet, but I'll be informed of that in a short time.
Yeah. So you've been honored for what you've done for basically St. Mary's athletics in the past. Now let's talk about how we're going to stay on that same track here this year. Talk a little bit about the state of St. Mary's athletics, so to speak.
Sure. I was honored to be on the MIAC podcast, and one of the things that I was asked on the podcast is just how that same question. And I think my coaches understand that whether we finish at the top of the league or whether we finish at the bottom or somewhere in between, the question is what's next. And so we're always trying to look ahead and say what's next? What's the next thing that we can do to advance athletics, to advance the institution and move forward? And we're really, really excited about where we're at. We've got tremendous things to build on off of last year, as you know. We played in 2 MIAC title games. We had 4 teams in the conference tournament. We had 3 teams regionally ranked. We were so close to being in the national tournament on a couple of different occasions. We were nationally ranked on several times. We set a record for all region awards by our student athletes. So the what's next? Wow, that's a big step. And so we're excited about seeing what can happen, but all indications thus far is that we're on a good path.
Well, and Donnie and I were talking in the first segment, one of the luxuries you have is you have some senior coaches who can certainly help out and Mike Lester being one of them now in his
Right.
19th season.
Right.
But this fall you haven't had to hire any new head coaches, so
Right.
you've got a lot of continuity there.
Very excited. I was talking with Brent Pollerai, our women's basketball coach, and I said, I'm happy not to be our women's basketball coach, because at this time last year, I was working with the team, obviously not in practice, but really just communicating with them about what was going to be happening next. And so it's great to have, we hired 3 head coaches last year in Brent and Amber Bartholomew and Greg Moore. And excited to not only have them back because they had very good first years for us, but our entire coaching staff. I am so excited about this staff and who we have with us. They're doing a tremendous job, and they make the future look very bright.
And it builds the excitement and the expectations, because it really, you look at this year, the expectations all throughout the department are certainly higher than they have been in the past. And it's not just, let's win 4 or 5 games. The expectations are playoffs and beyond.
Correct, and that's where we're at, and we've been raising those expectations for a long time now, and our coaches, our student athletes, administration, people outside of athletics are excited about that, and they have those expectations as well, and so it's onward and upward in everything that we do. What's next?
And I think you've gotten excellent buy-in too from the coaches and also the student athletes on the academic side of things. So we talked last year here on the show. I'm the faculty athletic representative, and I think certainly the students understand that they're students and athletes, and that has come through with all of the material that you receive as to how they're performing academically.
They are doing amazing academically, and our student athletes consistently have very, very high grade point averages. We had close to 100 of our student athletes on our dean's list last year, and we're very, very excited about that. Goal number 1, we're intercollegiate athletics, but goal number 1 is to see them graduate. And when they do and they walk across that stage, there's nobody prouder than the athletic department. And within that, as they experience all those great academic challenges, we think that they learn a lot from their athletic experiences as well. And so that combination is really boding well for them as they go on to great things in their lives.
And one of the other things that's really a great experience for our student athletes happens this weekend, and that's the Cardinal M Club weekend that really kicks off on Friday with the Hall of Fame and awards ceremony. Talk a little bit about kind of the history of it, because really it's one of those things that you kind of kick-started back when you were still a softball coach.
Yeah, I kind of an idea. When I came to St. Mary's, we had what I described kind of as we had a picnic in the spring where you honored some people, and spring awards weren't determined yet. We didn't know who was going to win those, and it was kind of an afterthought, really. And so we changed to what we're doing now, I think, 14 or 15 years ago, and where we do a kickoff in the fall and really honoring all of our award winners from last year. And it's a great ceremony. We put 400 or 500 people in our gym. We name our outstanding male and female athlete and scholar athletes. We induct 3 great members into our Hall of Fame this year. We're so excited about that. And it's really just a time to look back and celebrate, because we need to celebrate the great things that we've done in the past. But it's also a time to say we're moving forward, and we need to go on to the next step and continue to advance the things that we're doing in Cardinal athletics.
Can you talk a little bit about the 3 inductees this year?
Yeah, we're excited, with Julie, with Katie, and with Chuck. I think that we're excited about their inductions. 2 women's soccer players. The history of women's soccer in the 90s and the time that they would have played in several national tournaments and had several conference championships. And so they are definitely really focal points of those times. And then Chuck has just had a great baseball career at St. Mary's, one of the legends of St. Mary's baseball, and it'll be great to have him back on campus and for him to see, and for all 3 of them to see some of the great changes that have happened on campus in the programs in which they competed and their facilities and on the campus as well.
One of the things that's great about the Hall of Fame induction is that not only do the current players get to meet some of these outstanding alumni, but they also hear how successful their teams were. And so they understand sort of the tradition at St. Mary's for some of these successful programs.
Yes, absolutely. And some of my favorite parts of the M Club Awards ceremony are listening when our Hall of Fame inductees really speak to the student athletes. And they talk to the student athletes not only about their time at St. Mary's, but what their time as student athletes has done for them, what they learned, and really reminding our current student athletes to take advantage of the time they have because as we hear all the time, it goes so fast. And I think student athletes hear that and they go, yeah, we know, we hear it. And then it's not until they're done that they realize, oh, it did go really fast. And to hear that from some people who were successful as student athletes, were successful academically, they're successful in their athletics, but have gone on to do just great things in their careers as well. And the role that athletics has played in that is so important to them and great for our student athletes to hear.
You know, one of the things that you alluded to a little bit in the award ceremony is the naming of outstanding outstanding athletes and our scholar athletes. And what a pool this year! And and I've been involved in selecting these for a number of years, and it seems to me that this year's pools were just so deep with deserving honorees. Really, again, kind of shows the direction that we're moving in terms of having great student athletes on our campus.
Well, narrowing down was certainly a challenge, as you know, as our M Club Advisory Committee really works to narrow down our finalists, and then our coaching staff votes on that award, and that's a secret until it's revealed on Friday night. Just narrowing it down was so tough, and the voting and the conversation that our coaches had as we went through that voting process was just really, really good and interesting. And people say, oh, it's an honor to be nominated, and sometimes you wonder if they really feel that way. Boy, with this pool of applicants for our outstanding athlete, it is an honor to be a part of that, slate, and we wish we could name 3, 4, 5 on each side.
Well, of course, the awards banquet on Friday night is just part of the weekend. Still 2 more days to go. Tell us a little more about the golf outing
Sure.
out at Cedar Valley, and then the alumni games on Sunday.
Yeah, so, and we have home soccer on Friday. Yeah. So home soccer on Friday, and we'll announce our Hall of Fame slate at halftime then. And then there's still time if people want to golf with us on Saturday. We are getting full. We're very close to full on that golf outing, but we're very excited. It's just a great event. Cedar Valley is such a gracious host for us, and it's a beautiful course, and so we're excited to be out with them. But we'll golf, and then we will have a nice dinner, and then we will go ahead and have some alumni games on Sunday. Baseball, softball. We will also do a couple of alumni games on Saturday morning. So it's great to have those people back. And new this year, our Student Athlete Advisory Committee is hosting a beanbag tournament on Saturday. So those people who aren't interested in golfing get to come out and do a beanbag tournament on campus.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the Student Athletic Committee and Advisory Committee, they're really growing and trying to take more responsibility.
Right, I'm so excited. So SAC, S-A-A-C, is a national organization, and our SAC at St. Mary's is really, really thriving. Our executive board has been great. Our president this year is Grace Van Beest, who is a swimmer, and she and the other e-board members have really taken on a great leadership role. They are extremely organized. They're moving very, very well and moving us in a very, very good direction for SAC, and I really look forward to working with them this year.
Donnie, I actually have a question for you. I want to go back a little bit to the awards ceremony on Friday night.
Can't tell you who wins.
No, I know. I'm not going to ask you that. But as we induct some of these Hall of Fame members, how long have you been at St. Mary's, and have there been some inductees where you remember writing some of their game stories up and now they're Hall of Fame members?
I don't think we've quite gotten there yet. This is my 22nd year.
Okay.
So
we're getting close.
We're getting very close. Yes, we are. Now, I do remember, I take that back. Nate DeMars and Frank Savino were hockey players here when I actually was helping coach with Don and was the SID. So, yeah, there have been a few that I've written about. But, it's the thing that you always talk to these guys about how special this opportunity is for them as student athletes, and sometimes they take for granted just how talented they are as student athletes, and how many people would just give anything to be able to be that talented and that good to play women's soccer or men's soccer or basketball. Well, you pick a sport. I sit and watch these guys and just marvel at really how talented they are, and what a small pool of athletes get to really play collegiate athletics. And so, that's kind of what I take out of all of these, and I always look for that when these people talk, and just that, it's very special to be able to say that you're a collegiate athlete.
Yep. So, yeah, M Club weekend this weekend. Nikki Fennern, our athletic director, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Always
a pleasure.
That's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Be sure to tune in again next week. Thanks for joining us.